Canada, a country known for its beauty and quality of life, is facing a growing crisis: homelessness. Across the nation, more and more people are finding themselves without a place to call home. In today's video, we're diving into the top 10 cities with the highest homeless crisis in Canada, exploring the reasons behind this troubling trend and what it means for the future of these cities. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on important topics like this. Now, let's jump right in. Number 10. Halifax in Nova Scotia. Halifax has seen a dramatic increase in homelessness, largely due to housing shortages and rising rent costs. Many residents are unable to find affordable housing, leading to a visible increase in homelessness across the city. Over the last few years, the rental market in Halifax has exploded, with rent prices increasing by more than 20%. This rapid increase has left low-income individuals unable to afford housing, contributing significantly to homelessness. Despite efforts to provide affordable housing, the demand far outweighs supply. Halifax's shelter system is overwhelmed, unable to keep up with the rising number of people in need. Many shelters are operating at full capacity, leaving some forced to turn people away, leaving many without a safe place to sleep. As winter approaches, the lack of available beds becomes an even more pressing issue. The city's job market has not kept pace with its growing population. Many who face homelessness struggle to secure steady employment, as the available jobs often do not pay a livable wage. This combination of underemployment and rising costs creates a tough situation. Halifax has also seen a rise in mental health issues and addiction, which are closely linked to homelessness. Without proper healthcare and support, many individuals find themselves unable to break free from the cycle of homelessness. The combination of a housing crisis, limited shelter options, and employment struggles makes Halifax a city facing a rising homelessness challenge. Number 9. London in Ontario. London is experiencing a rapid increase in its homeless population due to both economic hardships and limited access to affordable housing. It's a growing problem that the city is struggling to address. With skyrocketing house prices, London has become one of the hardest-hit cities in terms of affordable housing. The rental market is particularly tough for those with low incomes, leaving many without any housing options. While the city is making efforts, London's homeless support services remain underfunded and stretched too thin. This leaves many without access to the essential resources they need to get back on their feet. A significant number of Londoners are facing evictions due to an inability to keep up with rising rent prices. Many families are being forced into homelessness, with few options for assistance. London has also been hit by job insecurity, with many residents facing layoffs or unstable employment. The lack of well-paying jobs makes it difficult for many to maintain stable housing, contributing to the growing crisis. London's housing shortage, coupled with underfunded services and job insecurity, makes it one of the top cities facing a homelessness crisis in Canada. Number 8. Winnipeg in Manitoba. Winnipeg has long struggled with homelessness, but the situation has worsened due to economic inequality and lack of affordable housing. The city's harsh winters add another layer of urgency to the crisis. Winnipeg's frigid winters make homelessness especially dangerous, leading to an increased need for shelter services. However, there aren't enough shelters to accommodate the growing number of homeless individuals during the winter months. Winnipeg has a high Indigenous population, many of whom face systemic barriers that contribute to homelessness. Displacement, poverty, and lack of culturally relevant support systems make it difficult for many to escape homelessness. Housing prices in Winnipeg have risen faster than wages, making affordable housing unattainable for a large portion of the population. The lack of affordable housing is one of the main reasons behind the city's rising homeless numbers. Similar to other cities on this list, Winnipeg also faces a mental health and addiction crisis, which further exacerbates homelessness. Without proper healthcare services, many are left struggling on the streets. Winnipeg's cold climate, coupled with systemic issues like poverty and lack of affordable housing, has placed it on the front lines of Canada's homelessness crisis. Number 7. Saskatoon and Saskatchewan. Saskatoon's homelessness crisis is fueled by economic disparities and a lack of affordable housing. Despite being a smaller city, its homeless population has grown steadily in recent years. The city faces challenges in addressing these issues effectively. Saskatoon has seen a significant rise in housing prices, making it difficult for low-income residents to find affordable homes. The rental market is tight, and vacancy rates are low, pushing more people onto the streets. With no immediate solutions in sight, the housing crisis continues to worsen. The city's shelter system is not equipped to handle the growing number of homeless individuals. Many shelters are operating at full capacity, leaving people without a place to sleep, especially during harsh winter months. The lack of available shelter space is a pressing concern as the crisis deepens. Many in Saskatoon are struggling to find stable employment, especially in industries affected by economic downturns. Job losses have increased the financial strain on families, leading to more evictions and foreclosures. Without stable income, many residents are unable to secure housing. Saskatoon's combination of economic struggles, housing shortages, and limited shelter capacity makes it a city facing a growing homelessness crisis. Without targeted interventions, the situation is unlikely to improve anytime soon. Number 6. Edmonton in Alberta. Edmonton has seen its homeless population grow due to a mix of economic downturns and a housing affordability crisis. The city has been unable to keep up with the increasing demand for housing and support services. As a result, more people are left without stable shelter. Edmonton's cost of living has increased significantly over the last decade, particularly in the housing market. Many residents are finding it harder to make ends meet, leading to a spike in homelessness. The city's housing affordability crisis has worsened, with limited options for low-income individuals. Edmonton's support programs for the homeless are severely underfunded, making it difficult to provide adequate care and services. Shelters are overcrowded, and outreach programs are stretched thin. This leaves many without the assistance they need to get off the streets. Economic instability has led to a decline in job opportunities across Edmonton, particularly in industries like oil and gas. The lack of stable employment has pushed many into financial hardship, increasing the risk of homelessness. Without job security, it's hard for people to maintain housing. Edmonton's combination of economic downturns, rising living costs, and underfunded support systems has created a growing homelessness crisis. Number 5. Calgary in Alberta. Calgary has been hit hard by economic downturns, resulting in a growing homeless population. The lack of affordable housing and job opportunities has made it difficult for many to stay off the streets. Calgary's homelessness crisis is now one of the most pressing in the country. Calgary's housing market has become increasingly unaffordable for many residents, particularly those with lower incomes. With home prices soaring and rental costs rising, many are finding it impossible to secure stable housing. This has led to a significant increase in the homeless population. The collapse of Alberta's oil industry has left many Calgarians without stable employment. Job losses in this key sector have had a ripple effect, causing financial hardship for many families. As a result, many have been forced into homelessness due to economic instability. Calgary shelters are struggling to meet the needs of its growing homeless population. Many shelters are full, and outreach services are unable to provide adequate support to those in need. Without enough beds or resources, many individuals are left without shelter, especially during the winter months. Calgary's economic struggles, coupled with an unaffordable housing market, have led to a growing homelessness problem. Number 4. Montreal and Quebec. Montreal has seen a sharp increase in homelessness in recent years, driven by a combination of rising housing costs and economic challenges. The city is struggling to keep up with the growing demand for affordable housing and shelter services. Montreal, once known for its affordable rent, has seen a steep increase in rental costs in recent years. This has left many long-term residents unable to afford housing, pushing them onto the streets. The demand for affordable housing far outstrips supply, making the situation worse. Montreal is home to many immigrants and refugees, some of whom face significant challenges finding employment and housing. These groups are particularly vulnerable to homelessness, as they often have fewer social safety nets. The city's social services are struggling to support this growing population. Montreal's homeless shelters are unable to meet the rising demand, leaving many without access to safe and secure housing. The city's shelters are often at full capacity, especially during the winter, when the need for shelter is most critical. The lack of space and resources has contributed to the rising homeless population. For non-French-speaking residents, finding employment and accessing social services can be particularly difficult in Montreal. This language barrier adds to the struggles many face in securing stable housing and employment. Without proper support, many individuals fall into homelessness. Montreal's rising housing costs and the unique challenges faced by its immigrant population have led to a growing homelessness crisis. Number 3. Toronto and Ontario. Toronto, Canada's largest city, has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the country. The combination of skyrocketing housing costs and economic inequality has left many residents without a place to call home. Toronto is facing a severe housing affordability crisis, with rents and home prices reaching record highs. Many low-income residents are being priced out of the market, leading to a significant increase in homelessness. The lack of affordable housing is one of the city's most pressing issues. Toronto's shelters are overwhelmed, often operating at full capacity. The city's efforts to expand shelter services have not been enough to meet the rising demand. Many individuals are left on the streets due to the lack of available beds and resources. While Toronto is an economic hub, many residents struggle with underemployment or low-paying jobs that don't provide enough income to afford housing. The gap between the wealthy and the poor continues to widen, contributing to the city's growing homelessness problem. Mental health issues and addiction are significant factors in Toronto's homelessness crisis. Many individuals do not have access to the healthcare services they need to address these challenges, making it difficult for them to escape homelessness. The lack of comprehensive support services exacerbates the issue. Toronto's skyrocketing housing prices and economic inequality have created a severe homelessness crisis. Number 2. Vancouver in British Columbia. Vancouver's homelessness crisis is one of the most visible in Canada, driven by a combination of skyrocketing housing prices and a lack of affordable options. The city's homeless population continues to grow as housing becomes increasingly out of reach for many residents. Vancouver's housing market is one of the least affordable in the world, with home prices far outstripping wages. Many residents are unable to keep up with the rising costs, leading to a growing homeless population. The city's housing affordability crisis shows no signs of slowing down. Vancouver shelters are overwhelmed by the growing number of homeless individuals, especially during the colder months. Many people are left without access to safe and secure housing. The shortage of shelter space is a critical issue that the city has struggled to address. While Vancouver's economy is strong, many residents are employed in low-paying or precarious jobs, which makes it difficult to afford housing. The high cost of living, combined with job insecurity, has pushed many into homelessness. Even those who work full-time often cannot afford rent. Vancouver's unaffordable housing market and lack of shelter capacity have contributed to one of the most severe homelessness crises in Canada. Number 1. Hamilton in Ontario. Hamilton has experienced one of the fastest-growing homelessness rates in the country, largely due to economic hardships and rising housing costs. The city's homeless population continues to grow, with no immediate solutions in sight. Hamilton has seen a sharp increase in housing prices over the last decade, driven by demand from nearby Toronto. This has priced out many longtime residents, leaving them unable to afford housing in the city they've lived in for years. The housing boom has had a devastating effect on low-income individuals. The city's industrial decline has left many residents without stable employment. With limited job opportunities, many individuals and families have been pushed into poverty, increasing the risk of homelessness. Hamilton's economy has not kept pace with its rising cost of living. Hamilton's shelters are stretched thin, unable to provide adequate support for the growing homeless population. Many shelters operate at full capacity, leaving people without a place to sleep, particularly during the colder months. The lack of shelter space is a major issue that the city has yet to resolve. Hamilton's combination of rising housing costs, economic struggles, and insufficient shelter services has led to one of the most severe homelessness crises in the country. Homelessness is a complex and growing issue in many Canadian cities, driven by factors such as rising housing costs, economic instability, and mental health challenges. Addressing this crisis will require a combination of affordable housing, support services, and community engagement. Which of these cities surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth discussions on important topics like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.